I want you to do something for me. Pull up your bank statement. Find your car payment. Write that number down. Now multiply it by 12. That is what you paid in car payments this year. Now multiply it by 5. That is what you have paid in car payments over 5 years. I will wait. Here is what I want you to notice. That number you just calculated, the 5-year total, it did not build you anything. Not equity, not ownership of an appreciating asset, not passive income, not financial security. It funded transportation, which is a real need. I am not dismissing transportation, but I want you to think carefully about the size of that number and what it could have done instead, because that is what this video is about. Not guilt, not judgment. Math. My name is Donald Cash. Double chin, gold tie. Jerome, who has never made a car payment in his life and appears entirely unbothered by this. The average new car payment in the United States, as of Q4 2025, $767 per month. The average loan term, 68.9 months, nearly 6 years. 1 in 5 new car purchases in Q1 2026 had a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. 20%, 1 in 5. And over that same 6-year term, at current prices and interest rates, the average new car buyer will pay approximately $11,000 to $12,000 in interest alone. On a vehicle that simultaneously loses 40 to 50% of its value, you are paying interest on a depreciating asset. Let me say that again. You are borrowing money, paying interest on the borrowed money to own something that loses half its value in 3 years. This is the financial structure of the American car market in 2026, and most people participate in it without ever doing the calculation I am about to show you. Let me give you the full picture of where Americans stand with auto debt right now. Total outstanding auto loan debt in the United States at the end of 2025, $1,680 billion, $1.68 trillion, the second largest category of consumer debt, behind only mortgages, ahead of student loans. In the last 10 years, total auto debt has grown by 56.7%, from $1,064 billion in Q4 2015 to $1.68 trillion in Q4 2025. 86 million Americans, 1 in 4, currently carry an outstanding auto loan or lease. The average car loan originated in Q4 2025, $43,582. 10 years ago, that number was approximately $24,782. It has grown by 76% in a decade. American household incomes have not grown by 76% in a decade. The math does not work out in the direction most people assume. And here is the detail that I find particularly troubling as someone who thinks about wealth building. Low-income borrowers' households earning under $35,000 per year pay an average of $738 per month on their car loans. That is higher than the national average, not lower. The people who can least afford expensive cars are often paying more for them because they have lower credit scores, which means higher interest rates. Sometimes above 18% on a $30,000 vehicle. That is $14,000 in interest alone over a 6-year loan. $14,000 paid to a lender for the privilege of driving a $30,000 car. I am not presenting this to make you feel superior to anyone. I am presenting this because understanding the mechanism, high price, high rate, long-term, depreciating asset, is how you avoid being part of it. Now let me show you the calculation that changes how you think about car payments. I am going to use $500 per month as the base number because the video title uses it. But I want to be clear, the average is now $767, and I will run that number too, $500 per month, invested in a diversified dividend ETF at an average 8% annual return. Over 10 years, $91,473. Over 15 years, $173,468. Over 20 years, $294,510. $294,000. From $500 a month, over 20 years. Now, the actual average new car payment, $767 per month. Invested at 8% over 15 years, $265,712. Let me pause on that. $265,000 in 15 years. from a car payment. That is not a retirement account. That is not a 401k. That is not a Roth IRA. That is not real estate. That is not Bitcoin. That is a car payment. The same dollars, a different destination. This is what the car payment is costing you, not the monthly number, the compounded future value of the monthly number, $265,000. And at a 4% dividend yield on that portfolio, $265,000 generates approximately $10,600 per year in passive income, $883 per month, every month without working forever. Your car payment is not costing you $767 a month. Your car payment is costing you $883 a month in future passive income. Now, I want to bring in the May 2026 context, because it makes this calculation more urgent than it was even 6 months ago. Gas is currently $4.53 per gallon nationally, according to AAA, as of mid-May 2026, up 53% from $2.96 in late February. The Strait of Hormuz conflict, the Iran situation, the things we have talked about on this channel recently. On top of the car payment, on top of insurance, which has risen 6 to 8% in 2026, on top of maintenance, the true total monthly cost of operating the average new vehicle in May 2026 at current fuel prices, approximately $1,102 per month. The monthly payment is $767. The total true cost is $1,102. The gap between those two numbers, $335 of costs people forget to count, does not disappear because you do not track it. Here is the question I want to ask as a financial expert looking at this data. Why do people do this? Why do 86 million Americans carry auto debt? Why has total auto debt grown 56% in 10 years? Why are people voluntarily entering into financial agreements that cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars in compounded future wealth? 3 reasons. And understanding them is how you make different choices. Reason 1. Monthly payment myopia. The human brain is not well designed for evaluating large multi-year financial commitments. We are much better at evaluating whether we can cover this month's bills. When a dealer shows you $700 per month on a 70-month loan, your brain does not automatically convert that to $49,000 in payments plus interest. It evaluates, can I cover $700 this month? Yes, decision made. The industry knows this. The entire sales architecture of a dealership is designed around the monthly payment, not the total cost, not the interest rate, not the opportunity cost, the monthly payment. By the time you are sitting in the finance manager's office, the question is never total cost. It is always, how much can you afford per month? Reason 2, status signals and social comparison. A car is visible. Neighbors see it. Colleagues see it. It communicates something about you. And for many people, what it communicates feels important enough to justify the financial cost. This is not irrational from a purely human perspective. Status signals are real. Professional impressions matter. These are legitimate considerations. But they need to be weighed against the actual cost. A car that projects success costs $265,000 in retirement wealth over 15 years. That is the honest price of the signal. Reason 3, lack of alternatives. In most of the United States, a car is not optional. There is no subway. There is no reliable bus system. If you cannot drive to work, you cannot work. This structural reality makes it very difficult to simply opt out of car ownership. What you can do is make deliberate choices about which car, at what price, on what terms. Now, the practical framework. As a financial expert looking at this data, here is how I think about the car payment decision. The 15% rule. Your total transportation costs, car payment, insurance, fuel, maintenance should not exceed 15% of your take-home pay. This is the standard used by most financial planners. If you take home $4,000 per month after taxes, 15% is $600. If your car payment alone is $767, you are already over budget before insurance, before gas at $4.50 a gallon, before maintenance. And here is the uncomfortable math. For the average American household with median take-home pay of approximately $5,000 per month, 15% is $750. The average car payment is $767. The average car payment alone exceeds the recommended total transportation budget for the median American household. Before 1 gallon of gasoline, before insurance, before a single oil change. The system is set up so that the average car purchase puts the average buyer outside the recommended financial guardrails immediately upon signing. This is not an accident. This is how the industry is designed. Now, the 7-year loan and why it concerns me most. 22.9% of new car purchases in Q1 2026 involved a loan term of 7 years or longer, 1 in 5, up from around 15% just a few years ago. 7-year loans exist for one reason: to make a payment you cannot afford look affordable. A $48,000 car at 6.9%, 5-year loan, payment of $948 per month. 7-year loan, payment of $722 per month. The monthly number drops by $226, but the total cost goes from $56,880 to $60,648. You pay $3,768 more for the privilege of $226 less per month. And here is the worst part. By year 5 of a 7-year loan on a $48,000 car, you have paid approximately $43,000. But the car is worth approximately $17,000 to $20,000. You owe approximately $26,000 on an asset worth $17,000 to $20,000. You are deeply underwater, negative equity, upside down. When you go to trade in that car for the next one, the dealer offers you $17,000 for a vehicle you owe $26,000 on. The $9,000 difference gets rolled into the next loan. You start the next loan $9,000 in debt before you have even taken delivery. This is called the negative equity cycle, and for borrowers who perpetually trade vehicles before their loans are paid off, it compounds with every transaction. This is not a rare edge case. This is the standard experience of the American car market in 2026. What does a financially healthy relationship with a vehicle look like? Let me be specific. This is where my expert opinion translates into real guidance. Guideline 1. The 20% down, 4-year loan maximum. Put 20% down, limit the loan to 4 years. If the payment on those terms is unaffordable, the vehicle is unaffordable. Choose a less expensive vehicle. This single rule eliminates most of the negative equity trap. 4 years at 20% down means you are building equity throughout the loan, not going underwater. Guideline 2. Total vehicle cost under 15% of take-home pay. Payment plus insurance plus average monthly fuel and maintenance. In May 2026, with gas at $4.50 per gallon, this means your payment needs to be lower than you might have budgeted last year to stay within 15% total. Guideline 3. Never roll negative equity into the next loan. If you owe more than your car is worth, pay down the difference before trading, or keep the vehicle until you have equity. The negative equity cycle is one of the most expensive wealth-destroying habits in the American consumer market. Guideline 4. Consider the used market right now, seriously. Used car and truck prices dropped 3.2% year over year in March 2026, according to BLS data. The used market has softened from the extraordinary pandemic-era highs. A 2 to 4-year-old reliable vehicle with documented service history is available at a meaningfully lower price than it was 18 months ago. The first owner absorbed the steepest depreciation. The reliability record is known. In a market where new car prices are at records and gas is at $4.50 per gallon, a used fuel-efficient vehicle is a triple benefit: lower purchase price, lower insurance, lower fuel cost. Now, the retirement connection, because that is the most important number. I said earlier, $767 per month invested at 8% for 15 years becomes $265,000, and at 4% dividend yield, $883 per month in passive income forever. Let me now show you what a deliberate vehicle decision looks like versus the default. Default: new car, $767 per month payment, 6 years, trade in, repeat, forever, no end to payments. Deliberate: used car, $350 per month payment for 4 years, then paid off, keep for 10 years total. After payoff, $417 per month, freed up, invested. Over 15 years. Default spending, total, in payments approximately $138,000. Asset value, at end, whatever the current car is worth mid-loan. Deliberate strategy. Total in payments approximately $16,800 for the 4-year loan. Then $417 per month invested from years 5 through 15. At 8%, $77,622 accumulated, plus you own the vehicle outright. The difference over 15 years, approximately $247,000 in accumulated wealth and reduced debt. That is not a rounding error. That is retirement money. That is the retirement that the average American car purchase is quietly stealing. One $767 payment at a time. Jerome has never had a car payment. Jerome has no plans to acquire one. Jerome is, in this specific financial domain, living his best life. My car is 10 years old, paid off, starts every morning. My portfolio generates $1,400 a month in passive income, growing each quarter as dividends compound. My total transportation cost, approximately $520 per month, under 15% of my income. With gas at $4.50, I know the number, I made the choice deliberately. My tie is still tight. And the portfolio is still working. Let the money do the work, including the money that is currently leaving your account every month in a car payment it did not have to make. In the comments, what is your current car payment? And if you added it up over 10 years at 8% invested, what would it be worth? Do that math. Come back and tell me the number. I reply to every comment. Donald Cash, out.